Madam Chair, your meeting is ready to roll.
Okay. I will call the Admin and Finance Standing Committee meeting to order for Tuesday, January 13th, 2026. You did turn it, we got the minutes, right? I remember reading, for December 9th, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I remember reading them, I just wanted to make sure that was December. It's been a few weeks, so I didn't see anything, they look good to me.
Oh, good.
Do they look good to you?
They look good to me. I wrote them, so.
Then all in favor? Aye.
All right, I will second.
Okay. So our, I just want to make sure I have the right one, because I have the one that's not marked up.
Yeah, I just pulled the one in the packet to make sure that that is the correct one.
Changed a couple things, so I want to make sure I'm on the right page.
Oh, gotcha.
With what I have on my computer. Okay, ordinance 907, first amended business registration, first reading tonight. Chelsea, do you want to just give a brief recap, especially for Jeremy?
Yeah.
I think it's all.
So, give me 1 second. First reading. Tonight, I am just making minutes. I'm doing the minutes while I'm doing this.
I know.
No, I get it. So it's, let's see. So 907 is the business registration ordinance, essentially creates the rules and parameters for what is required of individuals with their business registrations, as well as definitions, penalties, paying resort tax, duties of the clerk. So basically it's just the general understanding of how business registrations work. The big thing that we changed it from business licenses to business registrations to keep it legal. Other few items that were edited in this, we took out a section that was, originally we were going to put in short-term rentals and all the regulations that were provided in 963, along with some additional registration procedures that was requested by the city clerks. We decided to then move those into 963 after, we've been working on this one for about 2 years and have moved it back and forth a couple of times.
Then you wanted 907 to be a little bit more just general for that.
Exactly, and then
attaching a huge 80 pages of
Exactly.
Yeah, because we had added an entirely new chapter just for short-term registrations, but then we decided that it makes more sense to have its own ordinance for that, and then that way, if there are other businesses that
like
require.
Like dispensaries, were another big one where there's additional.
Yeah, there's a lot of additional regulations in terms of how that registration process
works. And if you're one of
works.
those cases, you'll know.
Exactly, and it's more so making sure that the clerks are aware to tell folks whenever applying and having that information readily available. So, we went through, there were a few changes that we did make just to some language across the board. We also made some adjustments to the temporary vendor registrations, but a sponsoring business registration.
Right.
To essentially, for things like the farmer's market, or if you're doing a pop-up at a store.
Labor Day Arts Fair.
Event.
Catholic Church does their fair, their vendor market.
So essentially, that was creating an umbrella registration to where you can then sponsor individual businesses for those one-off events or type of thing, and it created some additional registration regulations around those. Basically saying the responsibility of resort tax falls on that sponsoring registration. They have to have that person line itemed underneath, or, I'm trying to remember all the specifics.
Right.
And kind of what Farmers Market does already.
Right,
Yeah.
and it really was, we did talk to staff on this, specifically Janae, because she handles collecting all of the resort tax and making sure people have, have all that in place. And, she really wanted this to be, codified, because it wasn't in there before. Because it's much easier on her to deal with someone who knows how to handle resort tax and what's required of them, rather than hunting people down individually for their reports,
and then
50
just from
people.
A city council perspective as well, we were having a lot of concerns with folks that were coming down for an event, running one thing, and then they didn't pay their resort tax, ended up getting a penalty 6 months later. That was, 500 times the amount of resort tax that they were supposed to pay. So this will hopefully eliminate that. We originally had this in here specifically for the Arts Guild and the Farmers Market, but now this opens it up to any organization that wants to do so. Cool. So that's 907. And then just to kind of jump into 963, again, cleaning up a little bit of language from, and also adding those regulations and process for the city clerks for how those will be managed. So those were the big changes there. Again, changing it from license to registrations, just a couple of typos and cleanups throughout that, changing some of the definitions to be a little bit more accurate and clear, and then also adding some definitions for exempt management styles or registrations.
Oh, you're on 963 now?
Yeah, I just
Okay.
jumped.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's
I knew
okay. Do
that.
we have any more questions on 907? It'll be up for first reading tonight. Let's just close that one out before we,
Yep, sorry.
okay. All right, Dave.
I have a note or a concern with both of them, and I have it as my follow-up to reach out to Dennison already. In my mind, the therefores basically needs to say, therefore municipal code section blah, blah, blah will be updated to reflect, and that's kind of like, and it's missing. The first one actually at least says what part of code it is that's updating. The second one, the therefores doesn't, we do refer to it up in the whereases.
I don't think we changed
think-
that. That was like,
Pardon?
we didn't do that. That was been like that for years. So I'm fine changing it if
Yeah,
you
I'm
feel
gonna
you
double
need
check
to.
with Leland, just to
Yeah.
mind, because
Yeah.
one of my concerns is that when we have ordinances, they go in as ordinances, but they don't get updated in our municipal code, which is where Joe Citizen
Just-
goes to look.
Can you just let us know what that needs to
Yeah,
be
yeah, I
before
will,
tonight?
yeah, I will, and I'll come with the format of what the amendment is,
Okay.
if he
Great.
says
So-
it's there. And
Okay.
I could be wrong, but I don't think so.
Yeah, no, that's
It's
fine.
rare, but it does happen, I know.
I thought it happened once, but I was mistaken.
I feel like he had, 2 years to review that. That would've been great, someone could.
Yeah,
Just
no,
let us,
it's just, well, I've raised it before, and it's kind of like, it's still not there, and I think it still needs to be, so.
Yeah, fair enough.
No, you're good. I'm just like, I may come with a proposed,
That-
and I'll just have the wording to amend to include the.
That's fine.
Totally okay. Yep.
Yeah, it's not gonna change the structure of what we've done, so it'll
Yeah.
just make it
Just codify
Legally-
it, that's fine.
the way it needs to be. It's
And
fine.
and procedurally, Jeremy, these are ordinances, so they have to have 2 readings. There has to be a time frame between them, but the time frame, I think it's 10 days is what the code is, but that means we can do it in 2 subsequent. It's not like we have to do one in January and one in February, but then
That's
you have.
mostly for public notice time.
Correct.
Yeah, so, yeah, you'll notice that some things that are more impactful require ordinances versus
Law.
some things are resolute. Yeah, but changing laws and regulations is an ordinance thing.
It's the beer.
Yeah, we don't do that a lot in the, resort tax, with the ordinance versus the administrative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Any more
Kind of
on,
fits into the fees discussion
Yeah.
last time.
any more on, 907, business registrations? We're good for tonight? Okay, now, Chelsea. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
963.
So 963, same kind of deal. A lot of that stuff that we had pulled over from recommendations for 907, we moved it into 963. We also kept and maintained a lot of 963 from when it was written several years ago.
Yeah, 2 years ago.
Again, just changed a lot of the language to say registrations versus licensing. No changes to the cap, no changes to, the individually managed, just a little bit clearer definitions. We did add, the owner, or a clearer definition on owner-occupied short-term rentals, on-site managed short-term rentals, and temporary short-term rentals, those 3 main differences. So there's, 3 additional definitions, that have been added, and basically just clean those up, be consistent with state laws as well as, definitions, so.
And every one of these still has to, every one of these categories still has to follow all of the rules. Get the health inspections,
Yep,
get the fire inspections,
yep,
register with the city, all all of that.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Collect your taxes.
collect your taxes,
That's a
yep.
big one, yep,
Even if you're exempt or not, you still have to do everything.
yep.
So, if you're exempt from the cap. That's the only thing you're exempt from.
Yeah.
Nothing else, so.
So that is the differences there. It also, again, talks about those regulations, compliances. I'm just going through it right now. Application procedure, and then procedures for renewal, and like revocation. A lot of the stuff that was essentially missing when the original 963 went in. So, okay, that is all I have for these. Anything else?
Have any questions?
Questions,
on
comments,
963?
concerns?
No, the changes.
Okay, good. Okay, so that will be up for first reading as well. Jay, did you also have something on 963 that we need to add?
It was
Codify it.
the same, it was the same thing.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you'll let us know tonight before we.
Yep.
So we don't have,
Angie, hello. Sorry, I'm not the,
oh, that's okay, my back's to you, I'm sorry, go ahead.
There's a raised hand.
Yeah, Angie, go ahead, sorry.
I
My
have
back's
some
to you, so thank you.
comments or questions on the, is it 963? The definitions, and maybe those were created to match state code and you did what you needed to do on that. To me, they seem a little more complex now than they were and kind of create cracks for things to slip through. And one of my comments in particular on I have to sort through because it's a
Is
lot
that
of.
907?
No,
Look at it, 963.
Because I didn't see
963.
definitions in the 907.
It's, yeah, there is, it's under the definitions,
Oh, I
and then
see
it says short-term rental types, general short-term rental, professionally managed, yeah, it
Yep,
lists them all
okay.
there.
So
So,
I'll start
okay.
with the temporary designation. And it says, I'm not looking at it right now, but I'm looking at my notes, that they can rent no more than 60 days a year, I believe. And
30
if you,
Oh, okay.
Yep.
60
Okay,
days.
never mind, yeah, you're right, 60 days throughout the year,
So
yeah.
if that one's exempt, I was just picturing in real time what that might look like. So if they do 4-day rentals, that's 15 weekends I'll make up out of a season or a year. If they do 3-day rentals, it's 20 weekends and then 30 weekends if they do 2-day rentals. So if your neighbor, for example, is considered a temporary short-term rental, it may look fairly similar to all the other short-term rentals as far as coming and going, the amount of time. And so I'm just not sure why that one needs to be on there and why it needs to be exempt, number one. I think owner occupied should be exempt. The other ones I'm not so sure about. And Chelsea, I'm sorry, and I had a very long conversation about this time last year about all of these. And the on-site property management one, I believe, you were relating it to the Chateau Rouge, whose business model has changed. So I'm curious, who is that one even? What type of short-term rental is that one even
Okay.
designed to?
Angie, let me just clarify, the temporary short-term rental first. The temporary short-term rental, it has to be your primary home. It can't be a second home. So, that is for an owner who wants to leave during, the month of July. So, and they will designate with the city the exact dates that it will be available as a short-term rental. So it's not available year-round. It's not even available 6 months out of the year. It's a designated up to 60 days. So you say, I'm going to be gone the month of July and the month of December, or something like that. Or I'm going to be gone, January and February, so I want to rent it out during that specific time frame. So it has to be, in essence, it's a temporary, it's not only just a short-term rental, it's a temporary short-term rental. with up to 60 days, and those 60 days have to be declared.
Madam Chair?
Yes,
I do not see in that description, as
Yeah.
I'm looking through, that it says that that it applies to properties that is a primary residence. And
Yeah,
I think that would be good information.
It's not.
I thought we were gonna say
We
it had
have
to be
the
a primary
owner
home.
occupied,
Yeah,
and that's the one you're referring to.
so,
Temporary short-term rental, if you look at it, says, it has the any residential dwelling that's rented for transient occupancy 30 days or less, so that definition that's consistent throughout. The property will only be listed as available during the dates designated by the owner to the city in their application, no more than 60 days throughout the year. Dates are not required to be sequential. At the owner's discretion, they may have it property managed or
Mhm.
professionally managed. The temporary short-term rental registrations will be assigned to tax-assessed property determined by the property cent. So essentially what this is, it is for that person that leaves for 2 months in the year.
right. But-
Or it could be someone that shares their home with all of their family, and it's more so, we're trying to maximize occupancy or use tax revenue, whether or not, so we just don't wanna have vacant homes. I don't know.
Is it, and then that,
Mm,
one refers to 30 days and two refers to 60 days. So because I'm slow, explain, is it you're advertising it for 60 days, or is it the individual stay is only 30 days?
The 30 days is the individual stay.
Max individual stay?
Right,
Yeah,
that's the
what
definition of a
defines
short-term.
it as a short-term rental.
Yeah,
Okay.
so,
The 60 days is the amount of time that it's listed.
so I thought when we had talked about this, it was going to be people, it had to be their primary home.
I think that's the owner occupied. And I'm fine with removing.
And I thought that was because there's a 24-hour, somebody's there for complaints and stuff, is what I remember from
Yeah.
that conversation.
Yeah, the owner occupied is you're there.
Yeah.
Which
The
also,
temporary, you're not there.
which
So
also,
you do need two different ones.
which also tied to her other question about if it's an occupied staff like the Chateau, and I think
Right.
we still keep that there
Absolutely, and,
because just because the operation isn't there doesn't mean that business model might
Doesn't
not
exist.
reappear or show up someplace else.
right, and that's exactly it. I mean, the whole point of having this ordinance, the reason why was the public health and safety. That's why we passed it. And by having a 24-hour on-site managed short-term rental, that means that you're paying someone to be there 24 hours a day. It could be you, but you can't leave. I mean, you're gonna have someone there. So it's like a hotel motel
Exactly.
situation. Or if you have, there's the one across the street from 19th Street, or the Alpine. If they hire a 24-hour-a-day on-site manager, then they would not be subject to the cap.
Yeah.
Or the threat, whatever you wanna call it, because they are addressing the public health and safety issue of, they'll have someone there all the time, like a front desk clerk or a property manager on site who can handle most complaints without having to call the sheriff's department or the police.
So I'm unclear on E, on the
I'm-
temporary. Is that still the one where, is it a requirement that the property is a primary residence?
I
The
thought
way
we
it is
were going
written-
that way, but I guess,
So C is the one that is a primary residence.
right,
E is the one where it's a vacant house that's there all the time and they wanna rent it for 2 weeks. Or
So-
it's, I do live there and I do wanna rent it for these 2 months. It's,
So I think Angie has a good point, and also it would be nice to kind of square this with the new 2026 tax categories in terms of homestead and long-term rental,
yeah.
reductions. And I think it makes more sense for that temporary one is if it is
primary.
primary residence.
And I'm okay with adding
Yeah,
that.
and that's what I thought it was, and I apologize for, reading that,
Because
and
otherwise it's
missing
almost
that.
It's almost like short-term light, like, okay,
Yeah,
I'm gonna sign up for, like Angie said, 30 weekends.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that covers the year pretty good, so why?
And-
have
and
that
the-
category now?
And that would be a really easy
Add, yeah.
amendment, because you could copy the language from up in C,
Exactly.
and is designated as the owner's primary residence.
And the only difference between the two is the owner-occupied short-term rental, you have to be there when it's being rented.
No, that's not the case. We removed that intentionally.
We did?
because we realized that it's ridiculous to ask an owner to be there on site when you have a guest there the whole time. What if you need to go to the grocery store?
Yeah, no, if they're still responsible for it,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to a property manager and their and is that one exempt or not exempt from counting against
It
the
is
number?
exempt.
Yeah, I would say just remove temporary then. I'm fine with
Well,
that.
the difference is that the owner-occupied short-term rental cannot be managed by a property manager.
Or,
So at the owner's
it could be,
discretion,
but
the home may be
you're
professionally
designating
managed.
yourself the property manager.
Right.
Is kind of what that is.
At the owner's
Your-
discretion, the home may be managed professionally. That's
Right,
in
yeah.
there.
So let's go back to property managed ones. They don't have to be there 24/7, they just have to respond.
They have to
Of
be able
course,
to
they also
respond.
count against the numbers.
See, I thought,
Exactly.
when we originally wrote this, the owner-occupied short-term rental was the original Airbnb where you just rent out a room in your house
Yeah.
and you're there.
Yeah.
So I guess
I think it'd be just, why don't we just read through owner occupied,
okay,
and then that should clear it up. So,
Okay.
any residential dwelling that is rented by or on behalf of the owners to the general public for transient occupancy and is designated as the owner's primary residence and must live at the property no less than 6 months of the year.
Jeremy, pause for a sec, is 6 or 7 months in the new code?
it's seven now.
So I would say we change that to 7.
Yeah.
I have a
So
comment
that's-
on that. And
Angie, can I get through this first? I
Yes.
just want to read it out loud for everybody, and then we can have our comments. Sorry,
Yeah.
if we keep talking on it and building on it, it's going to get all muddled up. So let's just get through. At the owner's discretion, the home may be professionally managed. The property will only be listed as available during the dates designated by the owner to the city in their application, no more than 6 months throughout the year. Dates are not required to be sequential. An owner may choose to rent and there's a typo there, may rent a property or on their property, such as a separate living quarters, ADU, et cetera, without restriction of total days available for rental. Owner-occupied short-term rental registrations will be assigned to the tax-assessed property determined by the property tax assessment code and the corresponding owners of that property. Okay,
So,
there's a typo already that needs to get fixed.
okay,
Yes.
so why are we, if it's a short-term rental where you're living on site, why do they have the 6-month limitation? If you're actually living there and renting out like a room?
So,
They have a limitation because you say primary residence, which means that 6 needs to be changed to 7, and the one in Roman numeral 3 needs to be changed from 6 to
But,
5.
but you're living there anyway. It's your primary home, you're just renting out a room.
yep,
So I don't think there's any limitation, is there? It just has to be your primary home, which is a 7 month.
yeah, I don't know why
And you
there's a
have to,
limit.
yeah,
Renting
and,
out portions of something.
because if you're just renting out a bedroom in your house, or,
The language I would use in terms of like defining primary residency though is 7 months or more in a year.
right, to be
So I
your
would-
primary home.
I would say 7 or more months versus no less than 6 or something like that, or no more than.
I'm gonna try.
So,
Anyway, I would just match.
No,
Yes.
this is good. I want to make this right,
yeah,
and I want
So-
it to be,
so you're right, if we're not saying that they have to be there when it's rented out,
yeah.
then
We just have to live there.
we don't need this,
We don't need temporary. Let's get rid of it.
we don't. But I just also want to make sure, the only reason why this was exempt was because they were there.
The reason it was exempt, because there's two things, public health and safety, but the reasoning for the cap was they wanted to keep their neighbors and keep community character. That is how it was written out, and that is how it was presented throughout all of those meetings.
But,
But with that, the reasoning is you want to be able to have that your neighbor there. They are exempt in the fact that they are living there, they are your neighbor, you are keeping that community character, you have someone that you can ask to come shovel your driveway if you need to, vice versa. You also have someone that is regularly there on the property. Asking someone to be there the entire
oh,
time
I
is
get that,
absurd.
but the whole point was that you weren't renting out your whole house, because you are occupying it.
Well, here's the other difference, though, is you have a good example here across the street, and in terms of, you have two rentals up in the front. You have a long-term, a short-term, and someone lives in the ADU in the back. So that, again, you can rent out the house. And then there was also the example of Chris Keys, who she wants to leave for the month of July because
Right.
she can't stand it, and now she can do so.
Right, and that was why we did the temporary short-term rental.
Right.
It's your primary home, you want to leave for the month, you're not going to be, that was the difference between the two. One,
That's what E is about, not
Yeah.
what C is about.
right, so, but I don't remember removing, I understand like if you go to the store or that type of thing, but you shouldn't leave town.
Well,
While
I think
it's
you
being
still,
rented.
as that emergency contact, you still have to be there for, within a 30-minute period of time of rental.
Yeah, I just think that they can't leave town. I mean, that's why it's exempt. If they don't want to be exempt, that's fine. But to be exempt, they have to be here. That's what I'm saying.
All right,
In
we're gonna
town, but-
table this for another week, because we gotta make a lot of edits.
Yeah. Dave, go ahead.
Madam Chair, I'm just raising
I'm not
my,
Madam Chair.
Madam Chair, I'm just raising my hand because there was a
Yes.
question online and I'm
Okay.
visible, so I wanted to.
Okay. Are we ready?
Yeah.
Angie, go ahead.
Okay. You covered some of what I've been wondering about on these. And I think, to my mind, as what's been demonstrated today, expanding these definitions has created the possibility for confusion and for residences that are short-term rentals to not be counted in the cap and potentially have more short-term rentals than the 20% eventually. I mean, we may never reach that, but some of these definitions, I feel, just kind of make it more confusing, and I don't really see how it makes it easier on staff. And even building on to the short or the owner occupied definition was pretty simple and straightforward originally. This new one, it requires that you have to live there more than 7 months out of the year to claim it as your primary residence. But who's to know if those residents are there for 4 months and leave and back for a long weekend and
Well,
leave?
it'll be based now on the state. They have to declare it as their homestead.
Yep.
And say they live there 7 months out of the year. So the state has actually made that easier on us, because if they don't declare that, then it's not owner occupied.
Yep.
So it's not their primary home.
And realistically, we're not gonna know that if they claim it unless we audit it. And auditing it won't be that difficult to do, but also shouldn't be that necessary considering we've had two owner-occupied residences in the past 3 years.
Well, it's something that the property owner could easily prove. They can
Yeah.
put in their letter from the state that says this is my homestead.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So unless they were required to bring that in, but it is pretty easy to
Well, and I
prove
think,
that.
and honestly, if they're gonna be exempt from the cap or the threshold, whatever you wanna call it, I think they do need to show that.
Yeah.
They do need to bring that in. That needs to be part of the paperwork that we collect.
Right, the default is not exempt.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, Dave.
My
I can't,
understanding or recollection, correct me if I'm wrong, is that the goal was to pass these ordinances simultaneously because of the language and stuff that's there.
It was, yeah.
With that in mind, I would ask, and I know it's an effort, it'd be nice, and we have 25 minutes to get there, if needed, and is it possible that the proposed amendments could be made between now and this evening so that you can come prepared
Yes.
to make those? Because the edit to me is a pretty simple, is a pretty simple amendment, or do we end up pushing both of these? Because my understanding is it's a one or both.
My feeling is what is the goal?
So the goal was that, number one, we wanted to add the temporary short-term rental so that if, like you say, it's your primary home, you
Yep.
want to leave for July because you don't want to be around all the people,
Yep.
or you want to leave in January or February because you can't stand the cold, you'd be
Mhm.
able to rent your property out while you're gone. So
And
it
that's a
has,
new one, that wasn't.
that was the
previous
new
thing.
one, but it has to be your primary home and it has to be during a designated time. Your home is not rented out year-round. It's like, I'm only going to be gone in January, I'm going to rent it, I still have to go through everything.
Yeah.
But the main thing was I wanted it to be your primary home that we're giving, I mean, we're not anywhere near the cap, so I don't think we
Yeah.
need to necessarily,
Crack open a bunch of.
crack open a bunch of ability for other people to fall into these at this point. It's something definitely to consider down the road if people are not being able to utilize the property, like you say, a family home type of situation where, you know, the family all comes, you know.
I might suggest even just removing that entirely.
I don't mind it being
As
gone.
an exemption, and then if we start approaching the cap, we can look at it as a
Okay.
way of opening and being more flexible.
Okay, I'm fine with that
As a
too.
proposal.
And then as far as the owner-occupied short-term rental, the only reason to me why that was exempt was because they were not leaving town. They were available to, and if we just put that in there, I mean, in order to be exempt, I'm saying, you know, otherwise, you know, they're just not exempt.
Well, so
Period.
here's my thing with that, is we already have them as the emergency contacts, or they already have an emergency contact in place. So, to me, the two reasons why they would be exempt is, one, they are still your neighbor, your resident, community character, that bit. The other piece is that public health and safety piece.
Right.
And no matter
That you're
what,
there.
if you have that short-term rental, you have to have somebody within that 30-minute time frame of showing up and responding to emergency situation. You also have somebody who's living there on site. And again, I don't think that if I rent out my house, I necessarily have to be there for it, and so I think that if you have that emergency contact in place, and that's why it has it in there that they can choose to hire a professional company. But I think the reasoning for that
Was that in there
exemption
before?
was specifically for having that community character bit preserved.
Okay,
And that's both E, the
and C.
temporary, and C, the owner occupied.
Mhm.
They
So-
don't change the character of the neighborhood.
Right,
Correct.
so, but on C, did the original have that it could be professionally managed?
I believe so.
Okay, I can't remember or not.
I honestly, you know what, it probably didn't, because those definitions were very vague.
Yeah, and I thought it was a very narrow exemption, period, on that.
I mean, end of the day, it's still gonna be a very narrow exemption. There's few people that are living in their house that actually rent it.
It doesn't owner occupied mean simultaneously, AKA you're renting out, or does it just mean
No.
it's on the same property
It
because
just
I'm in the
means-
ADU?
You're right, it just means that it's owner occupied, but you only have to occupy it 7 months out of the year.
Yeah.
So
It's my
5 months out
primary
of the
residence.
year, you could just
But I
not
have
be
to
there.
rent it while I'm occupying it if I'm getting the exemption from it.
No, you don't, not the way it's written right now. Now, it would be, if you live in it for 7 months out of the year and you leave it, you know, and you rent it out as a vacation rental every summer, then, I mean, it just, I don't think that should be exempt, I guess. I think that, I mean, to me, that's just a short-term rental that you maybe live in all winter and you leave in May and then you come back in October. I don't think that should be exempt.
Short-term rental, yeah.
It's
To
just a
me, E
short-term
is
rental.
more important to keep than C is in this discussion, the I'm leaving in July.
Right, I mean, it's a declared time that you're leaving, and it can only be up to 60 days, whereas, I mean, the reason why it was exempt is because you live there while it's being rented, not you're leaving and renting it. I mean, that was the difference between it, why it was exempt.
Having both is confusing, I think that's valid.
Like, I would just like the owner-occupied short-term rental to say that you have to live in town while you're renting it. You
have to live on property while
Oh,
you're
On
renting.
yeah, on
property, not in
property.
town,
Yeah, on
but it is
property.
on the same property address.
Right.
Yep, I just wanna make sure that it's clear that you don't have to be there 24 hours a
No,
day.
and I'm
That's the
okay with
difference
that,
for me.
but, yeah, and I'm okay, like, if you need to go to the store, yeah, okay.
Because the way it was written before made it sound like you had to be there on site, and most people interpreted it that way. So I just
Would,
wanna
yeah.
make sure that it's very clear within this definition that it is your primary residence during time of occupancy. But when you say that-
You're gonna be there at least once a day by nature, and, I mean, you're checking in on it regularly by virtue of your, whether you go to the grocery store, the post office, you're
Yeah.
coming home and you have an
Oh, no,
awareness of what's
exactly.
going
It
on.
would be that you're living there on
Right.
site during time of
But-
rental,
But the way it's written right now, it doesn't say that. You could be completely
then
gone.
let's fix it now.
Okay.
And then we can, I just want to make sure
Absolutely.
that we're matching on the
Yeah,
goal. And
yeah.
now we can come up with the language.
Okay,
So we're removing temporary. Scratch it. It's gone forever. It's Done, I don't care.
And I'm not a vote, but I keep that, because I think
I would
that
too.
category is important. That's
But we
the
add
key.
the owner occupied person.
Right, add primary, yeah.
Yeah,
It has
add
to, it has to
primary
be a
residence.
primary home.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the owner occupied must, must live on site during time of rental. Is that what you're saying? Live on,
Live on property.
On premises.
On premises is good.
Yeah. right,
And the only thing I would suggest for your owner occupied exemption is to allow for professional, management.
Yep.
It does.
Because
Yep.
Yeah.
and I'm okay with
it's
that.
marketing, it's tax collection, it's all
Yeah.
sorts of things that go along with that.
But you're going to be living on site at the time of rental. You can go to the store, you can go to, you know,
And
Billings for the
you'll
day
also
if you
get
want,
an option
but you can't
that they would
leave
have
completely.
emergency contact if they decide to go someplace for a couple of days.
Yeah, a weekend, you know, it's like, oh, you know, shoot, my daughter's getting married and they already rented out the house, I'm not gonna be here, but the property manager would. But to be gone for 5 you know, the way it's written, so
Okay.
yeah, we'll just,
So
that'll
we're in C.
fix that.
I just want, can we go through, thank you. I just wanna get this written.
Yes, yes.
So let's
Thank
go
you,
through
Chelsea.
C.
Yes,
Item I, any residential dwelling that is rented on or by, or on behalf of the owner to the general public for transient occupancy and is designated as the owner's primary residence and must live at the property no less than 7 months of the year. We're
I
changing
would
that.
say get rid of everything after residence, because you've already encompassed it with the state definition, because the state defines what their primary residence is. So just end it after residence.
right, owner's primary residence as determined by the state guidelines or something like that. Maybe
Okay.
that will work,
As determined by state.
definition of, I don't know, whatever you wanna say, but, yeah.
It's not whatever I want to say because this is team.
I know, okay, however you wanna say that, I don't know, I'm
As
actually,
designated by the state, what would you do,
And
Jody?
is designated as the primary residence.
As, say, as defined in MCA or something.
Okay.
that'll work.
As defined in.
Using that Montana Municipal Code.
Yeah.
Montana Code Annotated, sorry, is what MSCA is.
Mhm.
Okay,
Next, number 2, at owner's discretion, the home may be professionally managed, keeping that.
Yes.
3, the property will be only listed as available during the dates designated by the owner to the city in their application.
You
We can
don't-
remove this.
all of that.
Yeah, I say,
Yep.
why does that exist here and
It's
it's so?
gone.
Okay.
It's
Cool.
gone, that's gone, yeah.
An owner may choose to rent their property, we have A on, I'm gonna just remove those. Rent their property such as separate living quarters, ADU, et cetera, without restriction of the total days available.
Was it, did it used to
I
say
don't
a
even think we
bedroom?
need
I think
that.
it used to say a bedroom on their property, or in their property, or something like that.
Yeah, it just used to say like you could rent a space at your home or
Yeah,
living quarters.
rent a space on
I
their
don't feel like
property.
Of your
this is-
property.
Yeah, a portion of their property would be good.
Yeah, I don't think we need to have this though, because realistically, they can
They
choose
can-
to rent the whole house and have them living in the basement, like,
Yeah.
as long as they're there, that's what matters,
Just-
right?
just get
Doesn't
that
matter
out,
what
yeah.
the space is.
Just cut that out.
So we can get rid of 3.
Yep,
Or
four.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, I've already deleted, so now it's 3, so,
Yeah.
Okay.
okay. Number 3, now, or 5, sorry, because I've been deleting things. Owner occupied short-term rental registrations will be assigned to the tax assessed property determined, and this is consistent throughout the others. So we
Okay.
just need to add
Yeah, we need to add a 3,
A
I
line,
guess, like a
owner-
3 must be,
My preference is that rather than just handing out a new version of this, which is what you're doing, Chelsea, is that you have the amendments. I move that on C,
on
we change 1, we do
what
this,
I'm
we
going
strike
to-
C and D.
what my plan is to do tonight is I amend that C shall now read, and I'm gonna read
Okay.
through the whole bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna talk about what was deleted, what was added, I'm
No,
literally
that's
just like,
perfect.
it shall read this.
perfect.
I
and-
think you'll need to speak to it, but it
We
doesn't
can
have to
speak
be
to it, but this
documented,
is the amendment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I
Okay,
don't wanna
so
mud it
let's get back
any
to
more
C.
than it already is.
Let's get back to C so we can get through this.
Okay,
So,
thank
C.
you. Owner must occupy the premises during duration of rental period.
Perfect.
Does that, I don't feel like that's
Well, do you want to say occupy or
Reside.
reside?
Reside, perfect.
Because occupy means
Reside.
you're right back to there. You got to be there 24 hours a day
Yep,
while they're
exactly.
there.
That's what we
don't-
were trying to
we
fix
don't want
the
that.
whole time.
We want them to be able to
Perfect.
go to the grocery store and get some milk if they need to get some milk. or-
Owner must reside at the premises during duration of rental.
Yes,
We're
Perfect.
happy?
anybody, is that okay with everyone?
There's one more change.
Okay.
I would replace all the instances of primary residence and put principal residence.
Oh, good call.
That's what.
Yep,
Just to be.
good call.
Perfect.
Principal, Angie, how do you feel about that?
Oops, I hit the wrong button. I appreciate all the discussion and I like the changes you're making. I think, I mean, I can't see exactly what you wrote, but it sounded like changes that I like and I find it makes it a little more clear of what owner occupied is and why it will be exempt. So
Perfect,
Appreciate-
thank you.
work you're doing.
So then on temporary short-term rental, on E, all we need to add is principal residence then.
Right? Property is
Your
principal residence,
Your principal residence,
as defined by MCA.
as
Cool.
defined by MCA, yes.
So I'm just gonna change that, number 1, to the same as this, number 1.
And the only difference between those two is that you do not have to be on site.
Which takes
Do not have
me
to
to
reside on
E,
site.
Roman numeral 3, at owner's discretion, they may have their home professionally managed. If
Yes.
you're someplace else the month of July,
Yeah.
Yep.
is that an option?
Yes.
Because who's managing it who's the on-call response person if
Well, it
I'm
doesn't necessarily,
someplace else?
yeah, go ahead.
So again, it doesn't necessarily have to be a professional in that regard. As long as you have an emergency contact within 30 minutes, it could literally be your neighbor.
Okay, so the neighbor,
You still have to follow the rules, you still have to have an emergency contact within, what is it,
Yep.
30 minutes?
Mhm.
It just gives you the choice of, if you want to advertise it and have it professionally managed, then
Yeah.
that's what you do.
and that's covered just in the generalness of everything else, is
Yeah.
correct?
Mhm.
Okay. Because that was my question, is at their discretion, it may be professionally, well, you know somebody else is managing it, not you.
Well, and
By
that's,
definition.
oh,
I'm so sorry, am I interrupting? Is this the right?
no, come on in.
We're just having a public meeting, you're welcome to join.
Oh, very good.
I don't know if you know what it is, but that's okay.
I know, I'm here on different business.
Okay, well, take a seat and enjoy yourself.
What do you,
I need my fingerprints so that I can take a licensing exam.
Oh, yeah,
I think what you want to do is go around the outside of the building. Actually, if you go to the front desk, they can page back there and have an officer come get you. That'll be in a whole separate section of the building. But if you go straight through the front office, they should be able to page somebody and get them for you.
All right, thank you guys.
Do we do that, Lonnie, or do we do that at the county?
Admin
They
and
do that at
finance
the
for
county.
the city.
We both-
Oh, so at the city, we don't, maybe the county sheriff's office?
What you need to do is, go back to the sheriff's department, so it's a block down, it's the big brick building.
In the courthouse?
Yeah, the courthouse, yeah.
Basement.
And just go to dispatch, and
Okay.
that's where they do the fingerprinting.
Awesome, okay, thank you so much.
Thank you for providing us all with this educational opportunity.
I know, well, I'm never, so it's a title licensing exam, they need your fingerprints for a background check, and I don't know anything about that, so, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so any other changes to this at this time?
Just so I can be clear on this, any residential dwelling that is rented on or by behalf of the owners to the general public for transient occupancy and is designated the owner's principal residence as defined in MCA.
Yes.
That is temporary, that's number 1, for I, what have you. The property will only be listed available during the dates designated by the owner to the city in their application, no more than 60 days throughout the year. Dates are not required to be sequential. At the owner's discretion, they may have their home professionally managed. Temporary short-term rental registrations are assigned by tax-assessed property.
I didn't hear you say the 30-day in one. Did you just not do it, or did you remove it?
She
Oh.
said
I.
it. She said it.
No, I didn't.
No, she didn't.
Oh.
I need it.
Because it used to say for transient of 30 days or less for compensation.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that, you didn't read it in that, so I don't know if you deleted it or.
I don't know why it's not, yeah, I gotta add that to both. Thank you for that. We'll get that
Okay.
added.
It wasn't in C before.
Yeah, it was-
It
in
wasn't.
E.
Yeah, it was an E, it was not in C before.
Yeah, we have it on, it looks like,
Transient occupancy of 30 days or less for compensation and is designated as the principal, got it, and then occupancy added. Cool.
okay, are we good?
I'm beyond good.
Any other comments on this one?
Yes,
Yes,
I-
go ahead, Angie.
on the temporary short-term rental one, now that I understand more what your intentions are around it, I see why it's there. And chances are not too many people are going to utilize that category of definition. But I do see it as potentially being one that might get abused. And not saying that you can do anything about that now, but it might be one to keep an eye on, especially if it's going to be exempt from the cap as well. Because I could just see someone, when I first read it, it seemed to me like, well, if a person was creative and wanted to rent their house out every weekend, they could slip in on this definition. But hopefully it will be utilized as intended and it will be fine. And I'd like to, can I make a comment on the on-site managed short-term rental?
Sure.
So that, my understanding is that one's going to be exempt, but I also can see, so taking the, is it Alpine Basin, the name of the new development on the
Yeah,
bill? My understanding is when that's built out, it's going to be 65 homes. I know a lot of people own and live there permanently, but that could potentially be 20 short-term rentals or a great number of short-term rentals. And I hear you saying, you know, if you're on site managed, you should be able to be exempt. I don't understand why from the threshold. I don't know why that should, if that's a state law or something, I'm not sure. But it just seems to me that the on-site managed short-term rental being exempt from the 20% threshold.
So the reason why we did this is because one of the main driving things of this was public health and safety. And if you're willing to pay someone 24 hours a day to be on site to take care of problems, then, you know, and that would be the same as the Chateau when they had, you know, they were basically acting as a hotel type of situation. That they're taking care of that public health and safety issue at that point. So that's where we were coming up with, you know, and I don't know that they will hire someone 24 hours a day, but any of our places that do, if they hired someone 24 hours a day, then they would not.
wouldn't, and I want to point out to me where it says which ones of these are exempts, because it's not in the definitions, but going to Alpine, if they have a front office there, that's not under one roof by the Chateau, but the reality is, I don't know, maybe it qualifies as the professionally managed, but does it not also qualify as they have an on-site manager, just because there's spaces between the individual units,
Right.
versus at the Chateau there wasn't. I agree with the comment that sounds like that one fits into this description.
Yeah, an on-site managed short-term rental. On-site means, you know,
Yeah,
Yeah.
so to me,
they have a clubhouse, if they have a front desk
so is
person there.
is that one of the exempts that doesn't count? Where does it say which ones are exempts and not exempts?
I'm looking for it.
Is it the intention to?
It's a little lower down in the ordinance. If you
It
scroll.
says there's a whole section of short-term business registration limit. The following registration types are determined exempt from the STR, or the limit of STR registrations, and will not be included against the short-term rental limit. Owner-occupied short-term rental, on-site managed short-term rental, and temporary short-term rental.
So that, I did have that written
So-
down correctly.
So it wasn't the intent necessarily to make the Alpine exempt. The only way it would be exempt is if they hired an on-site property manager that's there 24 hours a day.
Do you
Yep.
spell out there 24 hours a day, or?
On-site, 24 hours a day. Yes, an on-site,
It
Yep.
does,
That's
So
the
sort of
whole
like-
point of it, yeah.
Similar to a hotel.
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
Okay.
And so essentially it's creating, because again, we were having issues with things like the Chateau Rouge or Alpine or, those townhomes where it's just, it's a different business
The Aspen
model.
townhomes.
And if you had like, you see this actually fairly frequently throughout the country at this point. And there's different organizations and companies that own large sections of buildings where they have a front desk clerk, they have someone that's there to respond to complaints and issues. But part of the building's being used for short-term rentals, part of the building's being used for long-term rentals. And so you have these on-site managed properties, and it's becoming a more common business model. So this is providing regulation out the gate to ensure that if that model does come to the city, we have that regulation in place.
My question is that, where do you draw the line? Like, what qualifies as on-site? Like, is it on-site if, kind of to your point, there are separate buildings, but you're in the same complex?
And that
if
is
you
one
allow
piece
those-
of property.
Or what if you're across town? What if I'm at my house,
No.
So that is,
I'm on the phone number for on-call?
so
Yeah.
just to read it exactly as written,
Because I don't see
It's
7x24 in there, by the way.
So I think we do need to
Sorry?
add
It
24.
doesn't say 24 hours or, 7x24.
so
on
we'll
site.
read this out loud and then we'll identify the issues and fix them.
Perfect,
I think it's good to, instead of like trying to remember, just actually read it specifically as written.
perfect.
So, any residential dwelling that is rented on or by behalf of the owner to the general public for transient occupancy of 30 days or less for compensation and has an on-site manager on site at all times during the entire duration of public occupancy.
So there,
So part of the reason for that is if you had, for instance, we shut it down for a week so our on-site managers could go on vacation, you can't have any public occupancy at that point.
right.
So there has to be someone on site at all times during the entire duration. I do agree with the fact that we could clear up what on site truly is and say on the,
Well, on premises is what
On
we did
premises.
earlier.
yeah. On premises at all times during the entire duration of public occupancy.
Yeah.
So I think that's pretty clear.
And it would be
So-
incumbent on the property owner to prove that that's the case.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
order-
It could literally be like the city calls at 2:00 in the morning and, or shows up, and if there's no one there, then licenses are pulled. So if it becomes a problem and people are skeptical of the quality of management that is being provided, it's something that could be audited fairly easily.
Well, and if people start calling, the police department or the sheriff's department because, for little things,
But that's
did you
different.
call the property manager,
But this
Yeah.
definition is just with
right,
regard to,
exactly.
being exempt from the cap, right?
Right, exactly.
And
So,
from a business owner or property owner's point of view, it doesn't matter, they don't care, as long as they're not being denied on the basis of the cap,
right.
it's completely
And honestly,
transparent to them.
this is a way for, if we ever get in a situation where someone's business model, like the Chateau used to be, where you didn't used to be able to rent those out long-term, you didn't used to be able to live in them, and all of a sudden we're at the cap and their business model's done.
Yeah.
We're gonna get sued.
Well,
So-
and that's what I'm saying. I like this because
It-
there was a discussion about the Alpine that's kind of, we're grandfathered in, or this, our model is, no, but this covers it. You are exempt so long as you have coverage, and if you stop
Yep.
providing 7x24 hour, you now
Right.
get counted in as just like everybody else.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think that's a much safer,
As long as
Way
it
to
fully
go.
covers the
public,
on-site
yeah,
nature of
the
what
public health and
happens.
safety
Yeah.
part of this
And that
is,
sounds like it did.
Yeah. Okay,
on
so,
premises at all times.
yes,
on premises at all times during public occupancy.
yes,
It can be vacant for a week if no one is there.
Yep.
You happy with that one now?
yes,
Okay.
I think so.
Do you want to read all of them?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm good. So, all right, anything else on 963? I think we cleaned it up fairly well.
Yeah,
I think we're still
we can
good
still
for-
move forward with it tonight.
yeah.
Yeah, at least, if people don't want to, aren't comfortable voting on it tonight, then, it's okay if they don't pass completely all at the same time. At least we're moving forward with that conversation.
So the amendments that will be made is item C, where we discuss owner-occupied short-term rentals. there will be an addition of, or a change of premises from on-site in DI, and then EI has changed as well.
I have a procedural question.
Yes, sir.
Do we want to, at tonight, reverse the order and talk about 963 first in case it doesn't? Or are we comfortable
I would rather do
Doing
907 first.
907 first, and then
And I'm okay with
if
907
963
passing.
gets tabled, then we just wait to read the second at the same time so that they still kind of get done at the same time?
I don't even know if you need to do that. As
Okay.
long as we're talking about them both at the same time, they don't necessarily have to pass at the same time.
Okay.
It's fine.
Yeah, end of the day, these should have passed 2 years ago to actually keep us compliant, so who cares?
Madam Chair, 5 minutes to meeting close.
Yes, okay, so can we please, talk about city council rules of procedure very quickly?
Are you going to have time for public comment also still?
Is it, people have been talking this whole time. Do we have more public comment?
I know, I do see raised hands online.
Angie's got her hand up.
Oh, Angie?
I just want to
Go
say thank you very much for all the discussion and the changes you've made. I'm still feeling a little unsure about the managed one, and I understand how having an on-site manager can protect the health of the community, but that one being exempt and maybe happening in different parts of town, I feel like could potentially have other impacts that short-term rentals have on their neighbors and not be counted in the threshold. But that's all I'm going to say right now, and I'm sure that can be
And
reevaluated.
If I may, when we do action, there will be public comment specific to this item. You are encouraged, invited, and welcome to come and comment on the per item basis too. Just make sure that voice is heard by all council members before taking action.
I'm not sure I can be there tonight. I will if I can, but
Okay,
if you're
well, we'll have
directing that,
another meeting.
And, yeah, and there'll be another version of it too. It's an ordinance, so it gets read twice, so.
Yep.
okay. The next meeting I'll be back in town, so I can probably make it. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Okay, anyone else? Is there-
Any other public comments online?
Okay, thank you. Okay, so let's, we're just gonna go over just a little bit, because I want to hit city council rules and procedure, if that's okay with everyone. The only thing that we've been talking about really changing at all is how we do minutes. And, I think that's gonna be a great discussion item for tonight, and Dave did you get a chance to reach out to Dan Clark on
I
that?
have not got a
Okay.
response back yet, but,
Okay.
and I didn't get a chance to go through the
Okay.
thing.
See, and my part is.
And the reality is, we're not gonna change it tonight, we're just
No,
gonna
exactly.
talk about it.
But, I'll just say this quickly. When we brought our standing committee meetings back, the reason why we take minutes at our standing committee meeting, the reason legally why we did is so that if another member of council wants to join in on the meeting and we have a quorum, then we're required to have a record of the minutes. And we wanted to allow that, because we weren't going to be able to allow, if I wanted to join land use and planning, I wouldn't be able to do that unless minutes were being taken. So that's why. So to me, there's a couple different options, and I respect Dan, we'll listen to Dan's opinion as well. We could, one, if there's only 3 members of council here, we technically do not have to take minutes. We have the recording, which is now a state law that you have to record all public meetings. So they do have that. But it will be up to council to decide if we want to just continue that, or do we want to just take minutes when there's 4 people there? Do we want to just start doing legally required minutes, which are just more, you take your agenda and you just summarize briefly. We don't do verbatim, because kind of our minutes have been all over the place on how people are doing them. And it's gotten, so if you're taking minutes, you're not being able to participate as much during the standing committee meeting. So I think those will be great discussion items for tonight, and that's all I have to say on that.
Where's the section that it specifically talks about that currently?
I don't know that it's even in there, but I think we need to put it in there. We need to decide how we want to have that. It'd be under,
Seems like it should be in there.
It
I
should be,
feel like
that's what I
we
did,
did
I
have
don't
it in
think it
there
really-
before. Cause we went through this 2 years ago,
Yep.
and
You guys did it last year.
last year?
This
Yep.
one here is from 2024.
Yes, 2025, yeah.
No kidding. All right, let's
Yeah,
look
we
that
did this.
It's been a long year.
It has been, I know. But I think if it's not in there, we need to decide as a council, based on legal requirements of what we want to do. Especially for standing committees. Do the standing committee meetings, do we want just the recording? You know, or do we want to
And I
continue to
believe
take
there's
legally
from
required?
a legal perspective, since there's no action being taken, I don't know if that exempts it, but I also think, like I said, we've had, even last night specifically, somebody came and said, where do I go online to see these minutes? So even though we've been taking them, we haven't been following up and getting them online.
No,
where
it's been like
people
if
can
you
go
want
on.
them, you just ask at the desk and then.
And that's not the right answer from a public service.
Right,
standpoint.
no, I
Gotcha.
understand that. Standing committees, these
And in fairness, it only takes
So
one
we
person
have,
to
it
ask
is in
or
there, it is in there on page 30 of the packet. Each standing committee shall be required to record legally sufficient minutes, and the minutes shall be maintained by the city clerk and distributed with city council agenda packets,
You
which
said
we have
on
not been
page
doing.
3?
30 of the agenda,
How is it numbered at the bottom of the page in the,
packet.
3 of 7,
okay, so I'm looking at that page,
but it's page 30 in the packet.
yeah.
So, and it says minutes will be
Oh, I got
available
it.
to the
Record
public,
Legally sufficient.
yeah, meetings
Which is the short version.
may be recorded and available via electronic means. Standing committee meeting agendas will be submitted to the city clerk by Wednesday prior to the next city council meeting. So that's the way it is now, and, I guess it's up for discussion to decide how we want to proceed in the future.
And I would propose that what we that we edit the agenda portion, as we do now, so modify our public comment, because we have public comment. We have just public comment to get rid of on the agenda and public comment, so there's a one before and one and after, and it doesn't include on or off the agenda, it's just public comment too, because that's what we're doing, and that was the guidance.
You want
that
2 public comments?
We have 2 public comments. We have 2 plus however many action items there are. But right now, it says specifically on the agenda and not on the agenda, and I think we just change them so that they're just public comments.
Yeah, because I only want, I mean, in the standing committees, people can contribute throughout the whole thing.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, I was talking about the council agenda.
Oh, I'm
Sorry.
like,
No,
I'm
yeah, no.
what?
Sorry, thanks for
I'm not
clarifying,
having
'cause no, that's
people
not where I was going.
Okay, thank you. All right, anything else tonight? We'll just continue. Any more public comments from anyone? Nope.
Angie's gone.
They're gone. Anyone?
The only thing, I've been talking to the mayor, and I
Uh-oh.
haven't talked to Lonnie yet, but it'd be interesting to have the numbers for the total property taxes collected, or money's collected that the city uses for general operations, for their operations, versus resort tax. Because I find in a lot of discussions that the resort tax isn't looked at as seriously as maybe it should be,
Mm-hmm.
because it represents possibly up to 60% of the city budget.
Well, it's more than double, what, was it like triple what we collect in property taxes almost? Yeah, it's triple what we
Well,
collect.
there's,
Well, it's not triple, well, so
It's-
what we
it's a
collect
closer
in
to
property
double.
taxes is only 700.
but there's another part that comes from property taxes that doesn't show up necessarily as
Oh,
property
okay.
taxes as classified. And then the other thing I want to clarify is, that's not all of our budget. So if you look at property taxes and resort tax, that's still a relatively small portion, because most of our budget is actually fees on services and the
It would be nice to
enterprise
be able
funds.
to see those things.
Yep. And if you have some specific questions, like comparing those numbers, like I said, Lonnie's can be available to answer, direct those questions to Lonnie.
A general,
I think she's going to get the folder out of the folder,
Yes,
she can
we
show it
will
there.
adjourn. Thank you.
All right. So,
Yes.